Welcome to Sacred Conversations with Wendy B, where we explore the sacred in everyday life and discover practical ways to bring more healing, meaning, and connection into our daily journey. Come with me while we live with intention, love with purpose, and connect in the sacred.
Yay! Yay! Hi everybody. Last week we were talking about teas and getting into a rhythm of relaxing, and I kind of wanted to piggyback on that. So I hope that we have our cup of coffee, our beverage here while we sit down and just take a minute to think about it. We've gotten here to Monday, and we had Father's Day yesterday, and we're just sitting here thinking about all of that and having this conversation. Moving forward, I wanted to think about how we have our internal dialogue, which is right along what we were talking here, where we are as far as going to the other side, what words that we use, where our perspective is. And actually this thought came up because I was working with a client who I've been working with for several years now. And one of the things that she says is, I'm constantly under psychic attack. Wendy, what is this thing that's going on? And I told her, hold on, let's work through this. And spoiler alert, what it ended up being was in her internal dialogue. And I said, a lot of times our internal dialogue puts us in a place where we can be psychically attacked, but it can give that same feeling of being psychically attacked because of our internal dialogue. Mm-hmm. And that internal dialogue can also follow us along when we pass over to the other side. So I figured that this was the perfect time to talk about that space where we go from relaxing mode so that we can get a check-in with what our internal dialogue is. And one of the things, first was she said about being psychically attacked. And I said, well, let's unpack that. What does that look like? What are the symptoms you're feeling? She started to say, I get people that visit me, and then they leave, and they leave their energies. I'm running shows, and I've got my daughters, and I got my son. And I said, hold on a second. I said, you're also a single mom. So I said, first we've got to start off, and this is not only for her, this is for all of us. Sometimes we're too hard on ourselves. We have to be mindful of what it is that we're saying. So I told her, take just a quick minute and think about what you have accomplished in the last 3 days. And she starts naming off all of these things. And I said, listen, if I was in your shoes, I'd be worse exhausted. I probably wouldn't crawl out of bed. So she's like, you're right. I'm so hard on myself. And she says, and I'm sorry, I've been saying this for the last 3 or 4 years. Well, as we went along in the session, it was her younger child, her inner child came out to have the conversation. And she's like, oh my goodness, my inner child, and she misses her dad, and my conversations with these men, and the men that I mean, it just was a total unraveling by the end of it. And at the end of it, I asked her, I said, how do you feel? She's like, oh my gosh, I feel empowered. I was able to strip away, show these things, to your point where you were saying we take in all of these things that were taught to us as children, and she had a lot of those inlying stories that were told to her. And she said, my inner child needs a man to feel protected. And I said, that's probably why you're carrying around this and you keep making these different choices. So let's go back. She says, well, there's one of the men in my past doesn't want to leave because my inner child is holding him by the hand because she gets a sense of protection. And I said, all right, so is that rational? No, it's not any longer. Is it an issue for you? I had to get her to say, this is an issue for me, because now if we're ready to address that issue, now we can walk it to the door. So I said, so visualize walking that gentleman to the door, thank him for getting you this far, but his services are no longer needed. So you're letting him go with love. You might be angry at him, but let him go with love because he served his purpose. Now once that's gone, then you can say to your inner child, we don't need that type of male in our life anymore. And don't worry, I've got us. I'm going to drive the bus now. You can go and take a nap. And when we did the visualization, I asked her, I said, where's your inner child? She said, she's stepped back. She's sucking her thumb with her blanket. And she knows that I got her. And I said, and how do you feel? I could tell in her voice right away. It just totally lifted that pressure off. So I can't wait to check in with her. But she says, this is the calmest I've been in a bit, and I get what you're saying. So she couldn't, because she was in her head and these attacks. And I said, yeah, certainly there is a little bit of that attack. I said, but the only thing that you can control in here is how you're moving through that. So I thought that was pretty interesting, and it's a testament to how we think and where our thoughts are. Are we being loving? Are the thoughts that we're sharing with ourselves something that we would say to our best friend? Or if our best friend were to say those words, would we say, oh my goodness, why are you saying that? So then if we wouldn't want to hear somebody we love say that, why are we running that internal loop? And then the magic is in finding it and then rewording that. So I told her, you found your deficit, now let's look at where your empowerment is in all of that. And that's where the true work really took off.
So many comments and conversations on this one. We were talking earlier today that when I was in high school, my math teacher says to me, because A plus B equals C, what does A equal C, whatever my answer was. And she said, you should never go into math or accounting when you get older. And I went, why? She goes, because A doesn't equal C. Okay, so put a number in and I'll give you an answer. But to me, and it sounds so silly, I don't even remember her name, I just remember the conversation and standing at her desk. To me, anytime I do math now, big math, like taxes and things I have to do for the fundraiser and balancing books, has always been like this angst in me, this, oh my gosh, I have like palpitations and I get all stressed out and I get crazy, and I know that doesn't belong to me. I know it's because she told me back then, and sitting with my grandfather at the table, and he's laughing, how to make change. And I would always mess it up by the dollar. And he'd be like, no, you have to round up to the next dollar to get the change you need. So I think these few, I mean, what are these, 2 stories?
Right.
These 2 stories have shaped my anxiety about doing big numbers, which is crazy.
It is.
When you address it, but we still can get our spirits, okay, but if that one comes in or someone's sending bad energy, but at least you're able to recognize that, because you're saying, I'm not feeling like I was 5 minutes ago, what's happening, right?
Yeah.
So once you know that, by the way, I'm terrible at math. But the reason I have to say this is I'm also dyslexic, so I've got the new saying now. I'm dyslexic, I can't figure this out.
But now I'm so careful with what I say to my granddaughter. You know, and they go, oh, she's a chunko. I'm like, oh, we shouldn't say that to her, because that in her mind,
You
and
become
she
mindful.
should be a chunko at 7 months old. She's exactly perfectly where she should be.
1000%.
But I'm not her parent, so I think maybe being a grandparent, you get to do it again. What all those things you messed up on with your kids, you hope that you do it again the right way. But she's not my child, so if her mother wants to call or her father calls her something, I can't say don't call her that. That's up to them. But now I'm so mindful, and Freddie would be like, oh, you're so politically correct on the things that I want to say that I don't want to say, because I don't want her to have to unpack anymore, and then she's already going to have to unpack. How crazy.
1000%.
And yes, have I overthought her at 7 months? 100%, 1000%.
I think we all do. We all do. Yes.
1,000%.
I've overthunk it over again and over again.
Yes.
I
You're
think,
absolutely
Wendy,
right.
being aware of all this is what's important, even with this situation, because once you get that awareness, you're able to handle it better. And
Yes.
you can come out with different, maybe the same story, but just saying it slightly differently. And also, I believe in, which I've started doing, I never did this ever, talk to myself. I mean, I talk to myself. I
get it.
Talk to, but I've been praising myself, and it's something, I wouldn't do it in public,
yep.
but I started doing that to myself.
Yep. Look at what you've overcome.
Yeah,
I like to do
actually-
that with my clients
I
too.
did that the other day for no reason. You weren't home. I told you that. I was saying, Sally, my goodness, what you've achieved.
1000%.
I really don't want to say
important.
that in public. Now I'm letting everybody know.
But that's so important to do, and we don't. We lose sight of how far we've
First
come.
time I've ever done that, Dawn.
Really?
Now I've let everybody
Most of
know
us,
I did that.
we talk most about of our deficits or where we've
That's
messed
right.
up.
Or you're silly, or how
Unless
did I do
you-
something so stupid?
Exactly. Unless you're somebody who doesn't have the deficits and you're like, I'm the greatest thing since sliced
I
bread.
must have had a lot of them.
I think there's so many people that suffering from stinking thinking, and as Zig Ziglar said in one of his tapes, then you need a checkup from the neck up. And,
Yes. I like all of that. That was pretty quirky. I enjoy that.
Basically, our words.
Yes.
I mean, words are very, very powerful.
That's why it's
And
called
it-
spelling.
Yes, you know what? This is
Oh
another
my
thing.
gosh.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
Do you know what's happened to me?
Did you hear that?
Yes.
I never
Holy
heard that.
smoke!
But you know something, Wendy, that was perfect, because I'm also taking much more notice of what people say, of the actual word. And
The power of
words
words
actually do have the meaning that we're
Yes.
talking about. And that was absolutely
Yes.
a very good example.
So I see this like black cauldron and the smoke going spelling.
So why would
Yes.
that's interesting. Conversations.
Exactly.
So actually people are inclined to, not necessarily always be truthful.
Yep.
So
And if
they
you
call
think
it
about it,
conversation.
exactly.
That's
Exactly.
every word. I've started doing this over the last few months. And figuring out, oh my God, that word meant exactly what I just said.
And
Silly.
why? Let me give you just a little bit of an example, because this
Yeah.
is something that's really important. Think about the word bill. A bill is something that you pay. You receive money, and it's a bill or a dollar bill, right? And then there's Bill of Rights. So there's this word, and these different words are commingled.
Yes.
And then I'll tell my son, "Thank you for getting me the juice." But if you think about the words, the word forget is in there. Thank you, forgetting me,
Yes.
such and such a
Yes,
thing.
it's so
So it's like
interesting.
you're doing with one and undoing with the
Yeah.
other. So I'm like, the words for me have always been like the piece of
I've
candy
only
on the
just
trail.
become aware of it. We talk.
Wow.
Yeah.
But the actual meaning of the word is the meaning of what you're actually saying. It sounds ridiculous. but
1000%.
I can only talk for myself. I didn't realize that, and yet I'm saying it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
George Carlin did a huge bit about the ambiguity of words. And,
Yes. Yes. This is why I can't wait for us to become telepathic.
Yes.
Then you know people's motives, and you know
Right.
exactly what they're trying to
Yeah.
say. I'll say
No more lying.
my husband and I think we're really good communicators until we're not. And then I can see where, oh, I thought you meant this, and no, I meant that. And I can see where the disconnect is. And we're going to be married 27 years. I've known this man for over 40 years. So, I mean, we can finish each other's sentences at this point. But sometimes we have a disconnect in what we're trying to say.
And when Aldo was around, he always used to do that, like disease. Disease. It's
Dis-ease.
It's not, if you're diseased or whatever it
disease.
is, you're not at ease.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
Yep.
And he will always call disease. Think about it.
Yeah.
But I was
We
thinking
say
of all of your woos and the words. Now my granddaughter, she puts her forehead now on everyone's forehead.
Oh.
And I think, makes me think like she's from,
Yeah.
of course she's from another place. She's trying to have this conversation with everyone. That's how she's having her
interesting.
conversation. If she puts her forehead, she'll you can hold her and she'll go in and stuff for a kiss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she'll kiss you, but she puts her forehead to yours. And she
Yes.
just holds on. So I think she feels the vibrations,
Yes.
which just sounds crazy.
Well,
But I think she
Sounds
feels,
Yes.
she sounds what?
It sounds wonderful.
And the most
This is what she
amazing
does,
is
like,
that you
she feels
understand
it.
that,
Yeah.
Dawn, because babies do come in with a certain amount of knowing. As they grow
Yes.
older, it disappears. But to have someone like yourself who understands that, it's amazing, because you're not going to say this is just coincidence. It's not. It's some sort of
So my son says, no, she does that with everyone. I said, she does
Oh.
that with everyone because that's how she's communicating.
right.
She is feeling the vibration and trying to give you her vibration
Absolutely.
of what's going on in her
He's
mind.
doing the Vulcan mind meld.
100%.
1000%.
Right? 1,000%. I think it's
She's talking to.
1,000%.
She's actually yes. It's telepathy of a way,
Exactly.
actually, because we are telepathic. We just don't know we're telepathic.
1000%.
It's so cool, and she obviously knows what she's doing, but nobody else does.
No, because she's not being able to verbalize it, but
Right.
telepathically
She's otherworldly.
doing
And
it.
then I think, how
It's like
cool
an
would it be
animal.
if she could remember that once she gets her speech pattern, to be able to say, I feel this, but I think they lose it at a certain point.
Well, you do, because life and what we do.
It's like a muscle. You've gotta work
but
at
you know,
it.
if you have parents or
you imagine if
grandparents
she
in
grows
their
up being
lives,
telepathic?
but she's talking
That's
telepathically.
amazing.
She's
Yeah.
talking, like the Vulcan, right? She's got this
That's
telepathic
a real
mindset.
thing, for sure.
It is a real thing. I remember when my son was early on, and he would get frustrated because he'd look at us, but Mom, look, like if he was trying to send us his telepathic picture. And I'm like, honey, I want to be with you, but I don't have the apparatus you came in with. You know, that was a little frustrating for
Yeah.
him when he was young. Just, Mom, look, can't you see what I'm seeing? It's like, honey, I wish I could. I wish I could. Teach me.
You know,
amazing.
when my adopted daughter was an infant, and she was suffering from colic or teething or whatever, I'd walk the floors with her doing math. Simple math. 2 and 2 is 4, 4 and 4 is 8, 8 and 8 are 16.
Wow.
And I go all the way up into the thousands. And it really stuck with her. My cousin was in the car with us and said, Emily, tell Linda what 256 and 256 is. And she said, 512.
Oh, wow.
She was
Started early.
4,
You built the synopsis in there. I love that.
You can
Incredible.
also do that with a baby that's not born yet.
1,000. Yep, absolutely.
1,000%. I'm going to change
Well, I
Wendy's,
love that 1,000%.
Wendy's title, 1,000%.
Anyway, Facebook now, if I usually put, if I agree with it 100%, I'm definitely putting 1,000.
There's times like when I'm like 1,000,000%. Like that was really on point. Yeah.
Anyway, all right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to wrap it up and see what else Spirit has to say. Maybe we should ask Spirit before we wrap up on this Monday,
Right.
what the next 6 months look like. Summer solstice says
That sounds
it was
cool.
the time to manifest and to put in place everything you want for the next 6 months. So I took her to the fairy garden. We put the flowers out. We'll see what comes back. All right, more to come. We'll be right back.